The door to the penthouse office slammed shut as Marcus Kim backed her against the mahogany desk, his hands trembling as they reached for her face. Jasmine pulled back, her dark eyes flashing with a mixture of desire and defiance that made his breath catch. "No," she whispered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Not like this. Not until you understand what this means." His perfectly tailored suit was disheveled, his usually composed expression desperate. "Jasmine, please," he breathed. She stepped back, creating distance between them, her maid's uniform a stark reminder of the line they were about to cross. "If you want this, if you want me, you're going to have to show me you mean it." Her voice dropped lower, powerful. "Kneel down and beg for it." The words hung in the air between them as Marcus Kim, CEO of Kim Industries, stared at the woman who had turned his entire world upside down in just 3 months. If you're already hooked and want to see how we got here, hit that subscribe button right now, drop a comment telling me what country and what time you're watching from, and smash that like button because this story is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. 3 months earlier, Jasmine Carter had stood in front of the Kim residence with her head held high and her expectations rock bottom. At 22 years old, she'd worked enough jobs to know that the ultra-wealthy were all the same. They looked through you, not at you. They wanted perfection but offered no grace. This job was temporary, she told herself. Just until she saved enough to finish her business degree. Just until she could launch the consulting firm she'd been planning for 5 years. The agency had warned her that Marcus Kim was particularly difficult. Demanding. Cold. He'd gone through 7 housekeepers in 2 years. But the pay was double the market rate, and Jasmine needed every penny. The man who opened the door that first day was nothing like she expected. Yes, he was impeccably dressed. Yes, his expression was guarded. But there was something in his eyes, a bone-deep exhaustion that Jasmine recognized because she'd seen it in her own mirror for years. "You're the new housekeeper," he said in perfect English with the barest hint of an accent. It wasn't a question. "I'm Jasmine Carter," she replied, meeting his gaze directly. "And I prefer the term household manager." Something flickered across his face. "Surprise, maybe. The agency said you have opinions." "The agency should have said I have standards," Jasmine corrected. "I do excellent work, but I'm not invisible, and I won't be treated as such. If that's a problem, we should establish that now." Marcus had studied her for a long moment, and then, impossibly, the corner of his mouth twitched. "You're hired. Try not to quit like the others." That first week was a careful dance. Jasmine learned that Marcus lived alone in a penthouse that could house 20 people. He worked 16-hour days. He ate maybe 1 real meal a day, usually cold takeout at his desk. He never had visitors except for business associates. The place was immaculate because he barely lived in it. It was a museum, not a home. And Jasmine, who had raised 2 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment before they went to college, who had built warmth from nothing time and time again, couldn't stand it. The first crack in his armor came on a Thursday evening. Jasmine had stayed late to organize his disaster of a home office, and she found him sitting in the dark, staring at his laptop screen with an expression of such profound loneliness that it stopped her in her tracks. "Mr. Kim," she said softly. He looked up, clearly startled. "You're still here." The office was a fire hazard. "When's the last time you actually looked at any of these papers?" He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling it for the first time since she'd met him. "I don't know." Jasmine made a decision that probably violated every professional boundary. She sat down in the chair across from his desk. "Have you eaten?" "I'm fine." "That's not what I asked." They stared at each other. "There's kimchi stew in the kitchen," he finally admitted. "It's been there for 3 days." "Then it's garbage," Jasmine said flatly. "I'm making you real food. You're going to eat it. Then you're going to sleep. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about how this arrangement is actually going to work." To her amazement, he listened. Maybe he was too tired to argue. Maybe something in her tone reminded him of someone who had cared once upon a time. But he ate the pasta she made from the sparse ingredients in his kitchen, and when he thanked her, his voice was genuine. The next morning, Jasmine laid out her terms. I'm not just going to clean and disappear. If I'm going to work here, we're making some changes. You're going to eat 3 meals a day. You're going to sleep at least 6 hours a night. This place is going to feel like a home, not a hotel. And we're going to treat each other like human beings. Understood? Marcus had looked at her like she was speaking a foreign language. But then he nodded. Understood. The changes were gradual. Jasmine started cooking meals and leaving them with reheating instructions. She added plants to the sterile living room. She played music while she worked, jazz and neo-soul that filled the empty spaces. And slowly, incredibly, Marcus started coming home earlier. He started eating at the table instead of his desk. He started asking about her day. They started talking. Really talking. Jasmine learned that Marcus had built his company from nothing after his family had disowned him for choosing business over the traditional path they'd wanted. He'd sacrificed relationships, health, happiness, all in pursuit of success that felt hollow now that he had it. He was 45 and couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed. The vulnerability in that admission made Jasmine's heart ache. She told him about her ex-husband, who'd left when the kids were young. About working 3 jobs to keep them fed and clothed. About going to night school for years to get her associate's degree, then her bachelor's, 1 class at a time. About the dream of having her own business, of being the boss for once instead of cleaning up after bosses. You're remarkable, Marcus said quietly one evening, and the way he looked at her made something shift in Jasmine's chest. I'm surviving, she corrected. Like everyone else. No, he insisted. Not like everyone else. You're thriving despite everything designed to stop you. That's not common. That's extraordinary. The day everything changed started like any other. Jasmine arrived at 8 to find Marcus already gone, but there was a note on the counter in his precise handwriting. Emergency meeting with investors. We'll be home late. Please don't wait up. Thank you for everything you do. The thank you was new. It made her smile. But when Marcus came home at 11 that night, he looked shattered. Jasmine was still there, having ignored his note, and she took one look at his face and knew. What happened? He collapsed onto the couch, his suit jacket crumpled, his tie loosened. They're pulling funding. 6 months from launching the biggest project of my career, and they're pulling funding because someone spread rumors about my personal life. Or lack thereof. He laughed bitterly. Apparently, I'm too isolated. Too cold. They don't trust someone who has no connections, no relationships. They think I'm unstable. Jasmine sat beside him, careful to maintain distance but close enough to offer comfort. That's ridiculous. Is it? Marcus turned to her, and his eyes were raw. Look at my life, Jasmine. They're not wrong. I have nothing. No one. Just work in this empty apartment and a woman I pay to make sure I remember to eat. What does that say about me? It says you've been hurt and you protected yourself the only way you knew how, Jasmine said firmly. It says you built something incredible against impossible odds. It says you're human, Marcus. Not a machine. Not a failure. Human. The way he looked at her in that moment changed everything. It was like he was really seeing her for the first time, not as his employee but as a woman. As someone who understood. As someone who mattered. How do you do that? He whispered. Do what? Make everything seem possible. Make me feel like maybe I'm not as broken as I think I am. Jasmine's breath caught. They were too close. This was too intimate. She should stand up, make an excuse, leave. Instead, she reached out and took his hand. You're not broken. You're just tired of being alone. I understand that more than you know. Marcus's fingers tightened around hers. Jasmine, I need to tell you something. These past few months, you've become the most important part of my day. I know that's not appropriate. I know I'm your employer and there's a power dynamic and 1,000 reasons this is wrong, but I can't keep pretending I only see you as my housekeeper. You're so much more than that. Her heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. Marcus, this is complicated. I know. I work for you. People will talk. They'll say terrible things. I don't care what they say. You should. Jasmine pulled her hand back, standing up, putting distance between them. I've fought too hard to build my reputation, my dignity. I won't be anyone's secret shame. I won't be the help who got ideas above her station. The pain in Marcus's expression was sharp. You think that's how I see this? How I see you? I think you're vulnerable right now, and I'm convenient, Jasmine said, even though the words hurt to speak. I think tomorrow you'll regret this conversation, and I'll be looking for a new job. You're wrong. Marcus stood, closing the distance between them again. I've been falling for you since the day you told me you had standards. Since you made me eat dinner and sleep like a human being. Since you filled this mausoleum with music and life and made me remember what it feels like to want to come home. This isn't convenience, Jasmine. This is the first real thing I've felt in years. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But she'd been burned before by men who made promises they couldn't keep. Then prove it, she challenged. Prove this isn't just about loneliness or rebellion or whatever you're feeling right now. How? Marcus asked. How do I prove it? Jasmine thought about her dreams, her plans, everything she'd worked for. I need 3 weeks. I'm going to visit my kids. I haven't seen them in 6 months because I've been working so much. Take that time to really think about what you're saying. If you still feel this way when I come back, then we'll talk. Really talk. But if you realize this was just a moment, just the stress talking, then we never speak of it again and I'll stay on as your employee. Nothing more. The 3 weeks were torture. Jasmine tried to focus on her daughter's new job, her son's upcoming wedding, but her mind kept drifting to Marcus. What was he doing? Was he regretting everything? Had he already hired a new housekeeper? She shouldn't care this much. It was foolish to care this much. But somewhere along the way, while she'd been carefully guarding her heart, he'd slipped past her defenses. She'd seen the man beneath the cold exterior, the kindness he tried to hide, the loneliness that matched her own. And against all logic, all reason, she'd fallen too. When she returned to the penthouse, Marcus was waiting. The apartment looked different. There were framed photos on the walls now, pictures she'd never seen before. A young Marcus with his parents before the rift. Landscapes from Korea. And there, on the mantel, a photo that made her breath stop. It was a picture of her, taken without her knowledge, laughing while she arranged flowers in the kitchen. The joy on her face was radiant. I had that framed the week after you left, Marcus said from behind her. I wanted to remember what happiness looked like. What you looked like when you thought no one was watching. Jasmine turned to face him. Marcus. I thought about what you said. About proving this is real. So I made some changes. He pulled out his phone, showing her a series of emails. I told my investors the truth. That I had isolated myself after family troubles, but that I was working on rebuilding my personal life. That someone extraordinary had reminded me what really matters. I didn't give them your name or details, but I was honest. And 3 of them actually respected that. They're back in. Jasmine's eyes widened. You risked your project. I risked telling the truth, Marcus corrected. And something amazing happened. One of the investors shared his own story about divorce and isolation. We had the most honest business conversation I've ever had. Being real, being vulnerable, it didn't make me weaker. You taught me that. He took a step closer. I also called my mother for the first time in 3 years. We didn't solve everything, but we talked. Really talked. Because you made me realize that success without connection is just another kind of failure. Tears pricked Jasmine's eyes. You did all that in 3 weeks. I did all that because of you, Marcus said softly. Because you saw something in me worth saving. Because you made me want to be better. Because I love you, Jasmine Carter. Not as my employee. As the woman who changed my life. The words hung between them, precious and terrifying. Jasmine felt her defenses crumbling, but one last wall remained. I love you too, she whispered, and watched his face transform with joy. But I meant what I said. I won't be anyone's secret. I won't be ashamed of. If we do this, it's real. It's public. And I'm not your employee anymore. Then you're fired, Marcus said immediately, and despite everything, Jasmine laughed. Just like that. Just like that. I'll write you the best reference letter anyone's ever received. You can consult, start your business like you planned. I'll invest in it if you'll let me. But not as your boss. Never as your boss again. He reached for her hands. As your partner. As the man who wants to spend every day earning the gift of your love. As someone who sees you, truly sees you, and is in awe. Jasmine felt the last of her resistance melt away. But there was still fear, still uncertainty about crossing this line. This is going to be complicated, she said. People will judge. They'll say terrible things about both of us. Let them talk, Marcus said. I've spent my whole life caring what people think. I'm done with that. Unless you're not sure. Unless you need more time. That's when Jasmine realized the power she held in this moment. This proud, successful man was standing before her, his heart in his hands, waiting for her decision. And suddenly she understood what she needed, what would make this real and equal and right. Which brought them to this moment. The office. The desk. The words that came from a place of power, not subjugation. Kneel down and beg for it, she said again, her voice strong and sure. Show me this is real. Show me I'm worth breaking your pride for. Show me you see me as your equal, as someone worthy of everything, not just pretty words. For a moment, Marcus just looked at her, and Jasmine wondered if she'd pushed too far. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself to one knee. His eyes never left hers. Jasmine Carter, he said, his voice rough with emotion, I am begging you to give me a chance. To give us a chance. I will spend every day proving that you are the best thing that ever happened to me. I will honor you, support you, stand beside you as you build your dreams. I will be your partner in every sense of the word. Please. Please let me love you. The tears flowing down Jasmine's face now were happy ones. She reached down, cupping his face in her hands. Stand up, she whispered. Stand up and kiss me like you mean it. Marcus rose, and when his lips met hers, it was like coming home. It was promise and passion and the beginning of something neither of them had dared to hope for. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jasmine rested her forehead against his. So what happens now? She asked. Now, Marcus said, we figure it out together. I support your business launch. You teach me how to actually live instead of just existing. We face whatever comes next as partners. Partners, Jasmine repeated, liking the sound of it. Equals. Always equals, Marcus promised. He pulled back slightly, his expression turning serious. There's something else. My mother wants to meet you. I told her about you, about us, and she wants to have dinner next week. No pressure, but I want you to know that I'm not hiding you. Not from anyone. The fear tried to creep back in, but Jasmine pushed it down. That's terrifying. I know. But you're the bravest person I've ever met. You fought for your kids, your education, your dreams. You can handle one Korean mother. Jasmine laughed despite her nerves. When you put it that way. We don't have to if you're not ready, Marcus said quickly. I don't want to push. No, Jasmine decided. No, we do this right. We face things together. I'll meet your mother. The joy on his face made her heart swell. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Jasmine officially quit, with Marcus writing her a reference so glowing she actually blushed reading it. She registered her consulting business, using her savings and a modest investment from Marcus that they'd carefully documented to keep everything professional. The dinner with Marcus's mother was tense at first, but when Mrs. Kim saw how her son looked at Jasmine, how he smiled more in one evening than he had in years, something in her expression softened. You make him happy, she said to Jasmine in careful English. That is what a mother wants. It wasn't full acceptance, not yet, but it was a beginning. The business world had its own reactions. Some investors raised eyebrows at Marcus's relationship with his former employee. But his transparency about the timeline, his openness about changing his priorities, actually garnered respect in unexpected quarters. And when Jasmine's consulting firm landed its first major client, a company that valued her unique perspective on management and workplace dignity, Marcus threw her a celebration that filled the penthouse with life and laughter for the first time since he'd bought it. Now, standing on his balcony looking out at the city lights, Jasmine felt Marcus's arms wrap around her from behind. Penny for your thoughts, he murmured against her ear. Just thinking about how much has changed, she said. How scared I was. How scared I still am sometimes. Fear is just love trying to protect itself, Marcus said. Someone wise taught me that. Jasmine turned in his arms, raising an eyebrow. Oh really? Who? This incredible woman I know. She's fierce and brilliant and she doesn't take anyone's nonsense. Including mine. She sounds very smart, Jasmine teased. The smartest, Marcus agreed. Though she did make me kneel and beg, so she might be a little sadistic. Jasmine laughed, the sound free and genuine. You loved every second of it. I did, he admitted without shame. Because it meant you were taking us seriously. Taking yourself seriously. Demanding what you deserve. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe below them. Somewhere out there, Jasmine knew, people were still judging. Still whispering about the black maid and the Korean CEO. But up here, in this moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the man holding her, the dreams they were building together, the future spreading out before them full of possibility. Marcus, she said softly. Yes. I love you. Just in case I haven't said it enough. He pressed a kiss to her temple. You could say it 1,000 times and it still wouldn't be enough. I love you too, Jasmine. Thank you for seeing me. For saving me. We saved each other, she corrected. And as the city lights twinkled like promises below them, Jasmine Carter knew that this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead. Marcus's family would take time to fully accept her. Her own kids had questions and concerns. The business world wouldn't make anything easy. But they had each other, and that was more than enough to face whatever came next. The story of how a housekeeper and a CEO broke all the rules and found love wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But that's a tale for another time. If you made it to the end of this journey, thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you're rooting for Jasmine and Marcus, subscribe if you want to see what happens next, and comment below telling me what you think happens when Jasmine meets Marcus's whole family. Should we do a part 2? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next story.